The Euruskan OrgaMech, a hulking sarcophagus of metal and flesh, a fearsome unit and one of Eurusca's elite. It patrols the battlefields as a solitary terror, crushing and mauling any foolish enough to stand in its way. In this unit deep dive, we'll explore the OrgaMech in detail, covering its in-game functionality, potential inspirations, the tale of Lordoss, and an aesthetic analysis. Let us now start with its current functionality within the game. OrgaMechs are a rare sight on the battlefield, deployed as solitary units to guard vital choke points. Their presence is most notable on the battlefields of Ashen Mesa and Scorched Enclave. On the fields of Ashen Mesa, a lone OrgaMech is often spotted patrolling the pass leading away from the bunker. Its role here seems to be that of a sentinel, keeping watch and guarding over the passage. The OrgaMech's reluctance to stray beyond this narrow corridor underscores its purpose, a scarce and elite resource reserved for securing critical objectives where failure is not an option. On Scorched Enclave, the OrgaMech is typically found near the pipe's extraction point, guarding the entry route for Euruskan reinforcements. Like its counterpart on Ashen Mesa, the OrgaMech here appears tasked with holding a crucial choke point. Its presence serves to deter and neutralize any European forces that might attempt to disrupt Eurusca's advances, solidifying its reputation as a cornerstone of defensive operations. The OrgaMech, despite being adorned with magazines and holstered revolvers, remains exclusively focused on melee combat. This often manifests as a charge, barreling headlong into its enemies, crushing, smashing, and eviscerating scavenger and European alike. Defense-wise, the OrgaMech has incredible resilience and the ability to shrug off damage, supported by its thick layer of armor. At the moment, this makes the OrgaMech an undefeatable foe, something best avoided. Let us now move on to the possible inspirations for such a unit. The possible inspirations for the OrgaMechs are numerous, though this does not diminish its own creativity and originality. Among the most prominent parallels are that of Space Marines from Warhammer 40,000. However, the similarities go beyond their shared super soldier nature. As we will explore later in the Lordoss section, older OrgaMechs, such as Lordoss himself, represent a fusion of machine and man, reserved for individuals capable of the highest level of service. In Lordoss's case, this transformation followed a near-fatal incident. His remains encased in a steel shell to continue his service to Eurusca in mechanized form. This concept is reminiscent of the dreadnoughts in Warhammer 40,000, mechanized sarcophagi that house mortally wounded space marines, enabling them to fight for centuries longer in a new formidable chassis. Visually, the OrgaMech seems to be something of a blend of Krogan from Mass Effect and the Wolfenstein super soldiers. The Krogan influence is most apparent in the head and collar section, with the topmost carapace closely resembling the distinctive shape of a Krogan's head. Meanwhile, the art style, mechanical details, and overall posture of the OrgaMech strongly evoke the Wolfenstein super soldiers, mutated beings encased in heavy armor, designed to be resilient against all but the most overwhelming of firepower. This combination of inspirations, aesthetic, thematic, and mechanical, results in the OrgaMech feeling familiar yet unique, though perhaps the story of Lordoss may give us further insights. Lordoss the OrgaMech is a figure of many tales, for those who can afford to ply him with nicotine. His story begins in the harsh expanse of Mongolia, where he was born in one of the countless bioslums, human lives cultivated like crops. Selected and harvested, he was sent to a vocational school housed within a sprawling biostructure beneath the Gobian Desert. There, artificial instructors rigorously trained him and others for service in state security. Out of 57 recruits, only 7 endured to graduate. Returning to his home slum as state police, Lordoss and his peers were tasked with maintaining control over the very communities that birthed them. Here they excelled, being referred to as the Magnificent Seven, and gifted with revolvers. But fate and the matron AIs of Eurusca had other plans. On orders cloaked in secrecy, his unit was dispatched to neutralize a rampaging biological weapon, an off-the-record threat deemed unfit for public knowledge. This mission ended in calamity. The weapon annihilated his team, leaving only 3 survivors. Yet survival came at a cost. Lordoss was thrust into a nightmarish experiment, being one of the first subjects in the OrgaMech initiative. Machine and flesh melded into a tool for the matrons. This transformation brought many gifts: hyper-resolution vision, X-ray capabilities, and an embedded memory net. But it also carried curses: overstimulation, fractured memories, and a haunting disassociation. As an OrgaMech, he was a spectator within his own body, a hollow being capable of immense power. As elite agents of the matrons, Lordoss and his kind were deployed to Algeria's Mega DMZ. This lawless zone served as a crucible for rehabilitation through fire, pushing them into brutal conflicts alongside the Afro-Ruskin brigades. From his time here, we uncover fragments of Euruskan's secrets, including the embedded memory net. While not fully covered by Lordoss's recounting, this network of collective memories may allow battlefield data and experiences to flow freely between OrgaMechs and the matrons, possibly providing unprecedented tactical intelligence, though coming with a harrowing cost: scrambled memories and identity erosion. Many OrgaMechs, unable to discern their own memories and unable to forget the many horrors they wrought, sought to purge their minds, or local storage, through third parties. As the war started and the DMZ fell to chaos, these initial OrgaMechs found themselves abandoned or forgotten by the matrons. Stripped of the resources of the state, they turned to mercenary work until their equipment failed, eventually being hunted and scrapped for parts. Lordoss barely survived, saved by scavengers who salvaged what remained of him. Now Lordoss serves the vital part of the Innards defense and mercantile system, an artifact of a brutal past. Let's now break down Lordoss's tale, looking at certain aspects of the OrgaMech technology and lore, starting with the embedded memory net. For me, the idea of an embedded memory net adds a layer of mystery and existential dread to Lordoss's tale, raising questions about identity, memory, and the nature of the OrgaMechs themselves. If the embedded memory net functions as a collective repository of battlefield experiences, it serves not only as a tactical boon, but also a means of indoctrination and control. For Lordoss and others like him, the most haunting question is how much of their identity truly belongs to them. Are their memories their own, or are they curated compilations of data stitched together to create an obedient and effective soldier? The ceremonial revolvers, shared across all OrgaMechs, deepens this puzzle. These relics of the original 3 might symbolize a bond to a shared origin, or worse, a clue to a darker truth. This being that all OrgaMechs are clones of the first 3, their individuality erased in favor of a copyable template. Or perhaps they are merely symbolic in nature as a broader psychological manipulation, instilling a manufactured lineage to bolster their resolve. The possibility that new OrgaMechs are composites of preloaded memories raise concerns about the erasure of the original person. If a recruit's consciousness is overridden with the other's experiences, do the OrgaMechs even retain any vestige of the human they once were? Or are they reborn as tools, their humanity discarded, unnecessary or perhaps even detrimental for their new role? As for their abandonment, it may reflect an inherent flaw in the matron's designs. If the embedded memory net cannot account for the accumulation of new memories and experiences, old OrgaMechs may develop a form of data rot. Over time, the once pristine systems of memory sharing become corrupted, and the OrgaMechs' minds unravel. The matrons, pragmatic and calculating, might see these long-serving OrgaMechs as liabilities, tainted by time, unreliable, and ultimately disposable. Lordoss's current state might even be the grim future for all OrgaMechs, the embedded memory net becoming a prison of scrambled identity, leaving them adrift in a sea of many lives. Let us now delve closer visually, looking for other clues about the OrgaMechs, starting with its lower section. Starting out with the OrgaMech's feet, it's our first clear sign of the nature of these creatures, being much more machine than man. The worn, robust metallic feet imply a degree of crudity to their creation, a clear sign that we have departed the high technology of Eurasia, with even the defective cyborgs being much more advanced. This, along with the tale of Lordoss, could suggest that these OrgaMechs are old designs, their mechanics and technology decades old at least. As we move up to the legs, we encounter the primary armor of the OrgaMech, layered over its metallic frame. These appearing to be mostly conventional body armor, layers of Kevlar combined with armored plates, connecting together with straps and hooks. Despite the low-tech nature of this armor, it does make it relatively easy to replace, only having to remove small segments of worn pieces with new armor. Around the waist of the upper thighs are our first instances of war gear, though mostly ornamental in nature. On the right upper thigh we have several revolvers, 3 in fact, matching up with the tale of Lordoss and the 3 survivors of the Magnificent Seven. This could be a way of paying homage to the original 3 OrgaMechs, or reinforcing that these are at least mental clones of the original 3, their past lives overridden with the embedded memory net to jumpstart their training. Adjacent to the revolvers are several books, unlabeled and unlikely to be easily usable by the OrgaMechs, given their claws. These books could serve technicians documenting maintenance or recording operational notes. Alternatively, they might contain battle sermons, mentally fortifying the OrgaMech and reinforcing its devotion to Euruskan. On the other side of the waist, there is a large orange pouch, perhaps merely being as simple as a general supply pack carrying medicine, stimulants, or nutrition. However, if we see OrgaMechs expand from their defensive roles, this could also be something along the lines of a satchel charge, used for breaching and demolition. Front and center on the OrgaMech are layers of magazines for Kalashnikovs, a weird addition considering the OrgaMech's inability to currently use ranged weaponry. With OrgaMechs not often being attached to infantry squads, it's hard to think of these being meant to resupply other soldiers, though perhaps alongside the large combat knife we see on its shoulder, it could hint toward a large rifle caliber bespoke pistol to be utilized by OrgaMechs in the future. The carriers for these magazines seem to attach to a ribbed leather cuirass going up the front torso. This leather seems to act as an attachment point for gear, with the top left area of the OrgaMech having a carrier for what appears to be a grenade pouch, along with another pouch adorned with many medals. While these medals could signify the victories and prowess of the OrgaMech or that of its past life, I tend to think of it being one of the many propaganda and authority pieces upon the OrgaMech, a small part of the collective ensemble to enshrine the OrgaMech. The rear of the OrgaMech, notably the lower back, sees some of the heavier armor, with several pieces of hard carapace covering the waist, lower back, and wrapping around the sides. Also from the back we can see more of the core of the OrgaMech, showing us the base metal and a thick central core, likely housing what little flesh of the original remains, perhaps being as little as only the brain itself, all their flesh replaced with the artificial. Moving up to the upper back, there is a curious ornamental piece, a black and white photograph or portrait of an older maternal figure. The easiest assumption of what this might be is from Lordoss's tale, a visual representation of the matron AI. While naturally AIs do not have physical forms, having at least the visualization of one would be a useful propaganda tool, humanizing the cold, calculated logic of an artificial intelligence with that of the warmth of a maternal figure. Between the books, ornamental revolvers, and potentially a picture of the matron AI, one possible theory behind the current variants of the OrgaMechs are that they are battle commissars, inspirational or imposing units used to remind the soldiers of their service to Euruskan, and by extension the matrons. If the culture of Euruskan was any bit theocratic in nature, the books could be that of prayers, and the revolvers a means of dealing with blasphemers, those who would shame Euruskan and the matrons by deserting or disobeying orders. Moving from the upper torso to the shoulders, we have 2 pauldrons both inscribed with what appears to be Russian. These pauldrons currently have the same phrase, as one of the pauldrons is mirrored. Despite my attempts, I was unable to reliably translate these, once again due to distortion, wear, and poor resolution, though for native speakers, please leave what you can decipher down below in the comments. From what I could understand, they seem to reference the rising of these OrgaMechs from their mortal wounds, and mention something along the lines of everything today will be forgotten, perhaps making the memory issues of the OrgaMechs a deliberate design choice by the matrons. Adjacent to these pauldrons looks to be pneumatics or hydraulics of some kind, perhaps to assist in moving the arms or as a temporary means of immense strength. Atop one of these devices is a large dagger, though being much more comparable to a sword for a normal human. This dagger is still only ornamental in nature, the OrgaMech currently solely relying upon its strength to crush enemies. Going down to the arms, we have the familiar Kevlar and plate armor, strapped around the core, leading us to metallic hands ended with sharp claws, easily able to carve through both flesh and bone. These are also composed of numerous articulated joints, suggesting a great deal of dexterity afforded to them, likely able to operate complex machinery like firearms. Moving up to our last section of the mech, the head, here's where things truly get weird. The most prominent feature of this head is the metallic bicycle chains, being attached to metal teeth, perhaps a way of emulating sounds via vibrations in a synthesizer. The gear and chains recede into the skull of the OrgaMech, which from its sides protrude two large segmented bronze-colored objects. These objects likely serve to replace and artificially enhance the senses lost by the OrgaMechs, and much like a camera, seem to have shutters to heighten or lower awareness. Considering Lordoss' mention of overstimulation, these shutters are likely an absolute necessity, able to fine-tune the amount of incoming stimuli to the OrgaMech. However, in much quieter scenarios, such as night shifts, or hunting the many sprawling underground complexes of the city, being able to open these shutters to increase its senses would be a helpful tool, though ones that could be exploited. As we see in the innards and underground cemetery, large speakers are adorned throughout the refuge. These could perhaps be defensive in nature, used as a way to temporarily stun any encroaching sensory units with overstimulation, allowing scavengers to either escape or take advantage of the unit's temporary state to gain the upper hand. The last feature of prominence upon the OrgaMech's head are the red sensors, perhaps functioning as the eyes. These are present on the front, sides, and rear of the OrgaMech, likely giving it battlefield awareness of all of its surroundings, making it nigh impossible to ambush. This would make the vision of the OrgaMechs something truly alien. Focused 360-degree vision, unparalleled awareness of its surroundings, though much like its other senses, the issue may reside in what is clearly the weakest element of the OrgaMech, the brain. Perhaps the adaptations and augmentations are enough for most, but Lordoss' tale tells us of something different, the curse of overstimulation. It is this that may hint at future countermeasures for such a unit. Not attacks against the body, but attacks against the senses, overwhelming the OrgaMech not with firepower, but through ingenuity. In summary, the OrgaMech stands as one of Euruskan's most terrifying creations, a formidable fusion of machine and flesh. Their unmatched physical prowess makes them invaluable on the battlefield, but their purpose extends far beyond mere combat. They embody the matron's dominion over life and death, serving as a chilling reminder that unwavering service may grant a twisted form of immortality, entombed within a mechanical shell. Yet this power comes at a profound cost, for even if one escapes the eternal service of the matrons, they are never truly themselves again. That's all for this video. Let me know your thoughts on the OrgaMech down in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Take it easy, and I'll see you next time.